design of this as I view on the left. Now,
Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel VRacademy. Here we are studying about different electronic subjects and we have started with digital electronics. And today's topic of discussion is types of sequential circuit and their differences. In the last class I have given the introduction to sequential circuit and its differences from the combinational circuit. In the today's class we'll try to learn about what are the various types of sequential circuit. There are two types of sequential circuit we are having. One is asynchronous sequential circuit. SC means sequential circuit, and synchronous sequential circuit. Now we'll talk about its definition. We'll talk about the definition of asynchronous, then synchronous, and we'll try to analyze the differences between both of them. So what exactly asynchronous sequential circuit is? It is a type of sequential circuit whose operation is not controlled by the clock signal. Okay, so it is that type of sequential circuit in which we are not using clock signal, or we are using a clock signal which is you can say we are not at all using any kind of clock signal in case of asynchronous sequential circuit, while synchronous sequential circuit are those type of sequential circuit whose operation is getting controlled by the clock signal. Their operation is totally dependent on the clock signal. So just for the time sake, I can say you have to remember only one point, that its operation is not controlled by clock signal and its operation is controlled by the clock signal. So this is all about the types of sequential circuit. Two types, asynchronous, synchronous. And asynchronous sequential circuit is that type of sequential circuit whose operation is not controlled by clock signal, and synchronous sequential circuit is those type of sequential circuit whose operation is being controlled by the clock signal. So this is all about the definition and its types. Next, the most important thing we'll be moving to is the difference between asynchronous sequential circuit and synchronous sequential circuit. So I have just made, there are 4 parameters on the basis of which I will have the differences of them. The first one is memory element. Okay, so in case of synchronous circuit, the memory elements are clocked flip-flop. I mean to say, there we are using a type of flip-flop which is getting controlled by the clock, But in case of asynchronous circuit, the memory elements are controlled by the latches, or you can say unclocked flip-flop. So where we are not having any kind of clock signal. So this is the first difference. The memory element is nothing but your clocked flip-flop, and here you can directly say that the memory elements are latches. Memory elements are latches, and latches are nothing but unclocked flip-flop. Means its operation is not getting controlled by clock signal. The second one is operational speed. Now you can simply think that if there is a clock present in a circuit and there is a non-presence of clock in the circuit. So if clock signal is present, there must be some delays coming due to the presence of that clock signal. So therefore, that delay will make your output to be delayed. So in that context, you can say that the synchronous circuit, because there is a presence of clock signal, it is slower in operation. But because there is no presence of clock signal in case of asynchronous circuit, it is having the faster operation. The next is design process. Now, design process in case of synchronous circuit, it is easier to design and analyze, while in case of asynchronous circuit, it is complex to design and analyze. Now, the question that might be coming to your mind, that why the analysis or design of this synchronous circuit is easier while the design of asynchronous circuit is complex. The reason is the presence of clock signal. Now, if clock signal is present in case of sequential circuit, it will have the change of state at a particular positions. Means, let's suppose, generally I'll tell you about the clock signal in the next class, but for the time being you understand this is the clock signal. So when we are talking about the synchronous circuit, it is getting controlled by this type of signal, and it is having very particular, you can say, this is your edges where the signals are getting changed or state is getting changed. So we are having a better analysis. We can do the better analysis if we will be able to find out where our signal will change, where our signal will not change. So because the presence of the clock signal, the design process or designing such kind of device becomes easier, which can be easily controlled. So therefore, the design of synchronous circuit is easier, while due to absence of clock signal, it happens to be it will be changing the position or changing the state at any position. I mean, if you'll have any changes in the input, it might be a possibility that there will be change in the state. So in that context, controlling the design of that one becomes difficult, and therefore we can say that it is complex to design and analyze. The last one is glitches and disturbance. Now, since we are having clock signal present in case of synchronous circuit, it is very less possibility, or there is very less possibility to find any kind of disturbance or glitches or noise, because there is very less chance. I mean, if I will tell you it is changing at only this position, if I'll tell you that a signal is getting changed only at this point, or only at this point, so chances of getting the disturbance in the whole time frame is very small. Only 2 dots are present, so it is in the terms of microsecond. But if I will tell you that there might be a possibility that signal, you can get the disturbance at any point of time starting from here till here, then there is more chance to have disturbance or glitch. So therefore, this asynchronous, because this is asynchronous circuit, is not getting controlled by the clock signal, so there might be a possibility that disturbance or glitches can come in whole time period. But in case of synchronous circuit, because it is getting controlled by clock signal, there is only a small fraction of time where the signal is changing its state, and therefore there is very less chance that we'll be finding any kind of disturbances at this point. So therefore, the glitches and disturbance in case of synchronous circuit is very less, or you can say there is very less chance to have the kind of glitches and disturbance, but here we'll have the more chance of getting the disturbance or any type of glitches in the output. So this is about your sequential circuit and the differences between its 2 types. So once again, I'm just repeating it for 1 minute. There are 2 types of sequential circuit. One is asynchronous, the other one is synchronous. Asynchronous, what is that? Whose operation is not getting controlled by the clock signal, while synchronous sequential circuit is that type of sequential circuit whose operation is getting controlled by the clock signal. Coming to the differences, you have to remember only 4 points: memory element, operational speed, design process, and glitches. Memory element, it is having clocked flip-flop in the memory element, it is having unclocked flip-flop or latches in the memory element. While since there is not clock signal is not present in case of asynchronous, its operation is faster, its operation is slower due to presence of clock signal. Design process, the design process here it is easier, because here we are having more we can control the state of or change of the state very easily. So the design process is easy and analysis can be done easily. But here we can do, I mean, the design process is complex, as well as we can have the analysis in the complex way only. Now glitches and disturbance, because it is changing its state at a very small fraction of time, because it is getting controlled by clock signal, therefore there is very less chance of getting glitches in case of synchronous circuit. But in case of asynchronous, because it is not getting controlled by clock signal, so any disturbance occurring at any point of time can find a glitch in the signal. So these are the differences between synchronous and asynchronous circuit. So I think it is obvious, and it might be possible you have understood this thing pretty well. Now, next topic of discussion will be about the clock signal. We'll be discussing it in the next video. Thank you for joining. If you have any suggestion, you can come up with that. Thank you for joining.